up, guys? Welcome back. It's Thursday. You know what that means. This is another episode of The Garden, and I'm your host, Taryn Balzana. And I'm so glad you're here, as always. So you might have read my title, and you're probably like, what is Camp Ellie Mae? And how does that have to do with my life? It doesn't really, but it has a lot to do with mine and who I am as a person today. And I just wanted to share that with you guys because I'm not sure if you guys remember me mentioning going to Massachusetts and the camp I volunteer at there. But I wanted to spend this episode telling you all about it and the impact it's had on my life and the impact it continues to make through young girls and women all over the place. So that's what this episode is about, and it's played a very vital role in my life, and I just want to share that with you guys. I've wrote about this camp for scholarship applications, and I've made presentations about it in college, so it's only right that I share about it here as well, because it truly holds such a special place in my heart. And anytime I've had the opportunity, I share about it. So what better place to do it than here, where it's going to reach a whole lot more people. So I want to start off by reading you what I wrote a few years ago for a scholarship application when asked to tell what this camp means to me and how it's changed my life. So here I go. Life will only change when you become more committed to your dreams than you are to your comfort zone. Let me tell you, Camp Ellie Mae was completely out of my comfort zone at 14. My mom talked about this camp for years and how much she wanted me to go. It wasn't until 2016 that I finally got the opportunity. Little did I know that on that plane ride, my life was about to change forever. I was told how amazing this camp is and that the ladies it is run by were even better. Yet my 14-year-old self still couldn't fathom how much of an impact this little camp hosted in a backyard of Swansea, Massachusetts would have. I've never had a place feel like home that was so far away from home. Camp Ellie Mae taught me that home isn't a place, but that it's Jesus and his people. Every year, for 5 days out of a week in July, my home is 1,600 miles away. For 5 days, some of God's favorite people and mine are in the same place. You can't really explain the type of impact that has on a person until you experience it. Impacts of this camp begin before camp even starts, and they last way after it is over. It's the days before when we're all together, planning, staying up until ungodly hours, laughing to tears, and feeling a warmth in your heart like only one can when Jesus is present. It's during when you reflect on the lessons you can learn from a 6-year-old and that even on your worst days, you still have it better than a lot of these girls. It's after when you talk with each other about how much you were able to learn from these girls and when you realize that this camp is just as much for the adults. These lessons that are learned are not temporary ones. They are ones that will last a lifetime. I've been taught to always be coachable. No matter how old you are, you'll never know it all. Be willing to learn and listen to those that have walked down similar paths. I've learned to be appreciative and compassionate. Everyone comes from a different background. As hard as you may have it, someone has it harder. I've learned the importance behind being present. Camp Ellie Mae is held in a fenced-in backyard with no phones allowed. It is truly amazing how open your eyes become to the work of God when they're not distracted by the works of the world. I've learned to be adaptable. Change is not always a bad thing, and in fact it rarely is if looked at with the right perspective. Plans change and circumstances change every day. You can let those changes change you, or you can embrace them and trust God for his bigger plan. My biggest and most important lesson that I've learned is the significance of my worth. How what God says about me is so much more important than what this world has and will ever say about me. These lessons are ones I live by and will pass down for years to come. Camp Ellie Mae is so much more than a camp to me. It's something I frequently tell my friends and what I've told my professors about, and it's something I look forward to every single year. This camp changes lives from the inside out. It does exactly what I aspire to do in my own life. When God placed his calling on my life in March of 2021, I had no idea how I would even begin to approach the steps necessary to achieve it. I'm constantly reminded, though, of my support system through his people. Later on that same year, Mrs. Ellie Mae asked if I would be willing to speak to the girls one night at camp, and I eagerly accepted the invitation. This opportunity reminded me of the passion and heart I have for young teens, knowing how hard it is in this world, even with God on your side. He never said that we wouldn't have struggles, but he did promise that through them all he would never leave us. Isaiah 41:10 says, "Don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious right hand." That is when the fire inside of me for my future burns the brightest, when I think about the fact that there are people who don't know that. I know how hard it is to be a teenager and to be a young adult. I know the struggles and the temptations that are faced on a daily basis. Believing in God and being aware of his faithfulness makes it easier, but it still doesn't make it go away. Only when we are reminded of our worth through his eyes and the love he holds for us, despite our past, do we learn that it's okay and that this life is doable through him. This scholarship would help me carry on the legacy of Camp Ellie Mae outside of that backyard, outside of Swansea, Massachusetts, and into the world. Helping people see how valuable they are through the eyes of someone who holds so much more power than a like on Instagram, a classmate, or even their parents. Someone who sent his son to die for our sins and knows the very hairs on your head. That's a message that needs to be shared to everyone. With one more year of college left, the stresses of life, and the next steps I need to take constantly on my mind, this scholarship would lift a lot of them off of my shoulders. As much as this would mean to me, money can't compare to the lessons I've learned and the person I've grown into because of this camp. These are not just words I pulled out of thin air to get a scholarship, which I did get, but I hope you can feel the depth and the sincerity behind them. Anytime I tell someone I'll be going to Massachusetts for a couple weeks in July, they always ask questions, and I can never seem to give this camp and the impact it has all the credit it deserves in the time frame of answering. Now I'll probably just send them this episode. In a backyard of Swansea, Massachusetts for 5 days. This year, for the first time, we actually did 2 separate weeks because there were so many girls that wanted to come. Girls get to be girls, kids get to be kids, and adults get to see life and faith through the eyes of a child. This backyard is not like any other backyard. There is tree climbing, archery, a zip line, a pool, a huge pavilion, an outdoor kitchen, bunkhouses, tents, a boutique that people around the world donate to so the girls can go shopping. I actually got this sweatshirt from the boutique this year. And an overwhelming presence of Jesus. Camp Ellie Mae has been changing lives for the past 26 years and counting. It is a nonprofit, therefore it is 100% free for all campers to attend. We are able to maintain the camp, add to the camp, provide all meals, and so much more, strictly based on donations. This is not a sales pitch, but this is an opportunity for me to tell you about something you probably didn't know existed and the difference it makes. I will say, though, if you are listening to this and you feel led to contribute, please message me, and I would love to give you more information and tell you how to do so. I, Taryn Balzana, being the host of The Garden, approve this message. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a big supporter of this camp, the women it is ran by, everything it stands for, and the consistent work and power of God through it. I still feel like I can't fully put it into words, but I hope you feel like you've gotten a glimpse. There were a total of 61 campers this year. 61 girls learning about Jesus. 18 of those were brand new girls. Brand new girls who had never been to camp before or had never even heard about Jesus before. So many of these girls come from awful home lives, or some of them come from homes that don't even talk about Jesus, but yet their parents still send them, or their grandparents still send them. 61 seeds being planted. Ages 3rd grade to 12th grade. And yes, we mix them all together and they do great. I cried last year when I couldn't make it because I was starting a new job. And I cry on the last day every single year. Me and my mom say every year that it's just as much for us as it is those girls. So like I said, I love Camp Ellie Mae, if you couldn't tell. It's not long after camp ends that we start preparing for the next year, so if you would like to help in any way, please reach out. Every little bit counts. If you're cleaning out your closet, please reach out. But if in neither of those areas, we never minimize the power of prayer because that's what this camp runs on. God moves big, huge, ginormous, blows our minds every single year through this camp. But we know wherever God is moving, the devil is close by working as well, scheming and seeking to destroy, so prayers are always greatly appreciated. So, there's my why behind going to Massachusetts every year and what I do there. And I love every second of it. And I know this is just like a short little episode, but, and I could have told you about it the week that I got back, but I wanted to wait until like all the stats were in and whatnot. This camp has changed my life, and it changes lives continuously. Even when it's not running, people hear the story of it, and that's how we get volunteers every year, and that's how we get donations every year, and God has just so consistently been working through it for the past 26 years, and it's so amazing to see him do so every single year, because he never lets us down. And every year we're like, yep, he did it again. And we're blown away, but also never really surprised because he's just never failed. It's such, like I said, I just feel like I truly can't even justifiably put it into words, but I tried, and I hope you get it a little bit. I love you all, and thank you so much for listening to me talk about this camp and my heart behind it. And yeah, I love you guys so much. Bye. I'll see you next week.